I want to jump into a very specific topic regarding trading, and that is self restraint. Now, when you look at trading and when we're told about trading, we are told that it's all about making money, it's about succeeding and becoming this ultra wealthy person that at the click of a finger just pushes buttons and just makes money everywhere they go with no stress. That's not the case. And I would actually argue one of the greatest ways to discover who you are as a person is to begin trading. I do not think there is a singular better career, hobby, skill, whatever you want to call it, than trading to understand and learn who you are as a person. Now, when I talk about self restraint, the reason why trading is so difficult is because it is entirely down, in theory, to self restraint and how long you can endure not doing something incredibly fucking stupid, which unfortunately, as human beings, we all do continuously throughout our lives. And realistically, you can't avoid it. You may be able to, but you are bound to fuck up at some point in the future. It's going to happen. It will happen. It's more so how bad the damage will be when we inevitably make that mistake or get something wrong. Now, in terms of self restraint, well, why is it entirely down to self restraint? That's because to stick to a strategy, to stick to risk management, to stick to patience, to stick to entering at the right time, to stick to exiting at the right time, all takes a form of self restraint. Because the problem with trading is it takes one mistake to reset us back to zero. And if you look at it from that perspective, it helps you understand just how important your ability to control yourself actually is. I always say this, but this is a game of survival that is completely dependent on our own ability and capability to not do something incredibly fucking stupid. And again, we always tend to do it. Now, realistically, even the most successful, profitable traders in the world will make mistakes, not just losses. And losses are inevitable. But when I say mistakes, I mean more so having that one window of error of judgment where we may move a stop loss, or we may not use a stop loss temporarily, or we may over risk, we may get too confident. Realistically, we all do this, and anyone that says they don't is really lying, because there will be a moment in your life where you will lose control and you will make that mistake. And I'm also doing this video because I know every single person that trades does this. I have done this many times, and I'm sure you have as well. And inevitably, there may come a point in the future where you just lose focus or composure in that moment and make the very same mistake again, even when you know you shouldn't. And of course, your real goal and what determines a successful trader is how long they can sustain adhering to as much self restraint as possible, which of course is not the easiest thing in the world to do when the prospects of making money is right there in front of you. And in our minds, pushing a singular button is the key to making riches. So, of course, it's very hard to be self restrained when there's opportunity seemingly at an endless rate right in front of our eyes 24/7. That's one of the hardest problems with trading. When you look at the markets are constantly moving, constantly adapting, constantly evolving, and constantly providing what is seemingly a series of never ending opportunities. But if you've been in the markets long enough, you will know that not every single day is a trading day. Not every single move is a move that should be traded. And not every single candlestick is really what it seems. So, this is what makes self restraint such a complex procedure, because self restraint requires patience, most importantly, and discipline. But yet, the markets in front of us every single day that we watch are seemingly constantly moving. So, you've almost got a principle of patience on this side, whilst engaging in a market that is continuously moving on the right hand side. So, it's very hard not to get lured into that particular trap. In many ways, it could be comparable to standing in the center of a casino in Las Vegas, and you've told yourself you will not gamble today. But when you're standing inside that casino and you look around and there may be a bunch of people winning, or seemingly a bunch of people that are just consistently pushing buttons, you're more inclined to end up gambling. No different to being an alcoholic at a bar. You're more inclined to break your rules of not drinking alcohol if you place yourself in a situation where you are surrounded by your weaknesses. And in theory, when it comes to the concept and ability of easily making money, the markets are doing exactly that to us on a consistent basis. And the most successful traders in the world understand that not everything is what it seems. So it can be very hard to restrain yourself and control yourself when the markets are giving this never ending illusion of opportunity, when in reality, it's a never ending illusion based on deception, because that's the goal of the markets. It's to deceive us to break our self restraint. And I think it's an incredibly powerful and very liberating discovery when you realize that your success as a trader entirely comes down to your ability to maintain self restraint. Because when you understand that that singular mistake can set you back to zero, and it's incredibly easy to make that mistake, it's no different to climbing a very steep mountain. The reason I say this is because it's something I'm doing right now and have been doing every day in Crete. But why it's so similar is because I know a singular error climbing a very steep mountain will likely result in death. Therefore, I must adhere to the utmost self restraint to ensure I am not being a silly Billy and end up slipping and falling off. Because even in the event I survive, the only way to get back up to the top of the mountain is to start from the bottom and go through that whole tedious process all over again. So you must remember that errors are fatal in trading. And whilst we cannot escape the errors, we can minimize the damage of those errors, which is, of course, where risk management becomes the saving grace for minimizing those errors, because the errors could not be escaped, but the damages can be controlled. Now, if you think about your career as a trader and you understand the concept of survival, just imagine it as being in a survival game show where every single day you are presented with an opportunity to die. it's a You are literally being presented with an opportunity to die in this very extreme example. And that would be the equivalent in this case of blowing your account or getting reset back to zero or getting liquidated. And what you do not realize in the moment is the market is essentially hypnotizing you. The market is a form of hypnosis because it blinds us into losing touch of reality. It blinds us into losing all form of rationale and logic. It's very easy to lose touch of everything when you're engrossed in the markets. And truthfully, the more you stare at the charts, the more likely you are to actually do something incredibly stupid. Because the more you stare at it, the more you become hypnotized, the more you lose touch of reality, and the more you get sucked in to believe there's a great opportunity at hand. But often I found the less I look at the charts and the more I just consistently check throughout the day in regular intervals, the less I find myself in urgency to enter the markets. So you must always remember when you feel yourself, and this happens to a lot of people, you will often feel the urgency to enter the market. You will feel the urgency to execute a trade. And you must remember, if you are feeling a form of urgency to enter the market or execute a trade, you are losing mentally. You are losing the battle from the offset because there should never be an urgency to enter a trade. And the best way to view it is if you feel that emotion or you feel that urgency, that's your mind telling you you are currently in a weak state and you should not be executing a decision of that. And I say this because I've been there so many times where I've sat at the charts, I'm looking at the markets, I want to make money. Of course I do. We all do. That's why we trade. But when I look at the markets and I know deep down, I don't see an opportunity that is actually present or within the rules I have, the risk management, whatever it may be, I know there's not a trade within my criteria. But the desperation for money will often convince me that I can justify this gamble anyway. But what then begins to happen is it spirals from there. And that one slippage of self restraint and discipline can sabotage absolutely everything. You must remember this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a game of survival. You will not have any profits to enjoy if you are not alive or have the money left to enjoy it. You must avoid at all points any form of self destructive behavior, because the greatest form of sabotage within the markets is self sabotage. And this is why so many people struggle, because it's human nature to be impulsive, it's human nature to act off of impulses and often form and opt for the easiest decision possible. This is why it's so hard to trade, because not only are you nowadays up against all sorts of algorithms and whatever else may be out there maneuvering and moving the markets, but we're up against ourselves, really and truly. We are the greatest enemy of all life. We are the greatest enemy to ourselves. This is why it's so fucking difficult, because you're not just looking at the charts and trying to get a strategy or identify patterns. You are trying to stop you from sabotaging yourself. And we're not very good at that as human beings. And it's exactly why only a minority of traders ever succeed in the long run. I actually started testing trading perps on Binance the other day, working on some content for the app. It's going to be part of a new crypto course folder, phase 5. It's in progress basically, but something that caught my attention when trading Binance perps is it said that 70% of all accounts that use perpetual futures lose. When you think about those numbers, it is absolute insanity that 70% of people are losing. And this is the same on any Forex broker. When you go onto a Forex broker's website, they will tell you how many people are losing on their platform. It is a regulatory requirement. And those numbers can be frightening because it can deter you from trading itself. And it's very easy to see those statistics and go, well, this clearly proves that trading is hard and no one has the secret formula. You know, what magic formula do the 30% of successful people have, or the 5%, or the 10%, or the 1%? The successful formula they have and the secret key to success is they have an unwavering ability to control themselves through the chaos and disruption and volatility that the financial markets put them through mentally. That's the fucking secret. There is nothing else to it besides the fact that the markets lure us on a continuous basis. And I think the hypnosis idea is the best way to view it, because you will find the more you stare at those charts, you will be lured in to make foolish decisions. And when you understand that self restraint is the greatest strategy in the markets, you will begin to see significantly greater results. It's inevitable. You cannot fail if your sole focus is protecting your money versus making money. It's very blinding to enter the markets with the intention of making money. And if we were to go back to the example of being in the casino, where again, applying the same concept, if 70% of people are losing trading perpetual futures in this particular instance, would you not agree that the numbers are the same in the casino? Therefore, you must understand that you're entering into a battlefield where the odds are already against you. So you cannot actually go into the market with the idea that you are going to leave a winner. You must look for pockets, small windows of opportunity where the odds are shifted in your favor, which requires self restraint. Because if you were to walk into a casino with the idea that you're going to make an absolute fortune today, whilst completely disregarding that the odds are against you and you're likely going to lose, you will likely lose more than you intended to. Because the pursuit of money, again, blinds you completely from the reality that foolishness will lead to greater losses. This is how markets work. This is how casinos work. This is how the lottery works. It taps into that inner greed embedded within our DNA. We are genetically encoded to chase that dopamine hit and chase that thrill. It's what leads us to execute positions we know are absolutely fucking stupid, but we do it for the thrill because we need something. We are in constant pursuit of stimulation, and there is no greater form of stimulation than executing a position in the market and risking your capital, seeing that money go up and down, that desperate hope that money will come your way and it will result in a profit. And whether you lose or win, The reality of trading is something keeps you coming back. But what you need to learn is the self restraint to keep yourself back from the offset and dip in when necessary and then dip out accordingly. This is the key of the markets. Control yourself, and all that you want will likely come your way. It's a hypnosis tool, it is a form of manipulation. The markets are not just manipulating prices, they're manipulating you. And it's manipulating you to lose composure. It's manipulating you to fall off track. It's manipulating you to do something incredibly stupid. That's the true goal of the markets. It is a deceptive tool that is designed to lure you astray. And your goal, if you want to become a successful trader, is to keep yourself away from being distracted. It is to protect yourself mentally from those destructive ways we fall within. As human beings, we're not the smartest of cookies. We've done some amazing feats as humanity, but when it comes to basic psychological needs or psychological factors, we're quite weak at that until we can learn to train the mind. And this is why I also said in previous videos, it's very important to engage in the art of meditation, in the art of controlling the mind. If you go back to the previous videos where I compared the brain to a CPU, your goal is to keep that CPU at the lowest capacity possible. Because if your CPU is maximized, you will again chase the simplistic, easiest forms of execution. If your CPU is overloaded, you are more likely to act off impulse. As an example, if you've got, you're tracking the charts on one tab, you've got fundamentals there, you're checking your timeline on X there, you're scrolling through Instagram reels, you've got TikToks going on in this corner, you're on a phone call, you're sending text messages, your brain is distracted. But in the markets, distractions are not going to benefit you. Your survival will not really be assured if you're consistently distracted. The goal of trading is to forget about the timelines. It's not to look at this particular date or time where you will make XYZ amount of money. No, that's how you fail. You will not survive that way. Your goal is to progressively, in intervals, proceed forward step by step. And whenever there is a hurdle or setback, you only go back a step or two and continuously progress forward, instead of making one fatal mistake that resets you back to zero. As always, if you understand this is a game of survival and you embed that deeply in your subconscious mind, every time you open those charts, whether you analyze, execute everything that goes into trading, remind yourself your goal today is not to make money. Your goal is to survive another day, to live to fight another day.